I am an artist, I'm not a curator. So I started, everything started because I wrote also a novel. I was attracted by other artists doing similar things, and I had a short list of artists who had written novels as well, but only for my personal use. I didn't want to do anything with that. I was just finding other people who were also writing novels. And it was when I met Joanna. She's a curator, and then she saw some potential in this list to do a systematic research on the issue of artist novels. So instead of collecting like random names and titles, we started to really look for those artists who have written novels. And then, among other things, we discovered that there is very little study done on this. As far as I know, and we've been researching already for some time, we couldn't even find a bibliography. There's no bibliography published about artist novels, and very little article, just a few articles, and many times they speak about it within the biggest issue of artist writing or artist books, but never really specifically speaking about the novel as an art form. So the point of the book lovers is, on the one hand, to do this research, and on the other hand is to see what happens if we accept the novel as an art format, the same way as video or performance could be. So what would change into art practice from the moment we accept the novel is a valid, legitimate art format? Yeah? So we stick to a very conventional, narrow definition of what a novel is, because we also think that the more we define the object of our research, the more specific it is, the clearer it will be as well. You know, we are talking about this very specific thing. Otherwise, we open the door again to art in general, and we don't want to talk about art in general. We started a collaboration with the MUCA, Museum of Contemporary Art in Antwerp, in Belgium. So they are acquiring the collection. We find the books, they buy them. So far we have 155 titles in the collection, around 100 artists, and we are still researching more and more. The basis of the exhibition is the collection, but then what we did is a selection of 8 artists. So these 8 artists we selected have made use of the novel as an art form, meaning that they had created a whole art project around it. For us, art is not about having ideas. Art is also an experience. So this difference between, for example, conceptual art and this is that in conceptual art you don't need to experience the work. Just by getting the idea is enough. You get the idea, you don't have to even see the artwork, yeah? Here is different. You need to read the novel to understand the work. But that entails, like I said before, a more active participatory role from the spectator. Then, of course, if you are in the gallery space, you cannot read the whole novel. In the specific case of this exhibition, what we did is a kind of collaboration with Printed Matter here in New York. They happen to have quite a number of these novels in their store. We found out like more than 30. So what we agreed is that they build a kind of corner, the book lovers corner in their store during the duration of this exhibition. So here we announce that if you're interested, you can go to Printed Matter to buy it. And in Printed Matter, it goes both ways. In Printed Matter, they say that this corner is only artist novels, which is linked to this exhibition. So we give a chance to someone who is interested in reading one of the novels we point to the place where they can go and buy it. because at the end, it should be about that. It should be about reading it.
So this is Sexy Librarian. One of the most interesting, unique things about the book is that it actually includes rejection letters for the original manuscript before you even get to the title page. So this first one is from Avon. This one is from Moonlit Romance, Moonlit Madness, and actually this one they get into a lot of detail about why the book was rejected, including the fact that it has STDs, which destroy the fantasy factor of true love and romance. The book is in some ways, quasi-autobiographical in the sense that it doesn't follow the traditional arc of the romance genre, which has tropes that you need to hit and that really remains above a certain cut in terms of decorum and this fantasy factor that Moonlit Madness romance is talking about. And I, in a sense, wanted to explore what relevance my life and my anecdotes would have in this commercial sphere. And in another sense, I knew that it wouldn't ever get there because it didn't fit in the mold. So when Ellen Lupton offered to publish it, I actually at first wasn't sure that that was the right direction for the project because it was sort of about this failure. But then I started to see the potential for the larger exploration of its relevance beyond just commercially, but through these library collections, these art museums, these art contexts, even just through its consumption by the readership and all of the blogging and the reviews that have popped up online since then are fascinating because it's people reacting to the story of my life and also to this experiment in disseminating a narrative and seeing what comes back. So as I was writing Sexy Librarian, I decided to become more of an expert in this subject, which became really the center point of my art practice. Sort of collection theory, currency of information, collection development. And so I decided to go get a Master's of Library and Information Science, which you can see right there is my degree from Pratt Institute. And fast forward another couple years, I became a librarian at New York's oldest library. And this section represents books that I discarded as a librarian. So if we move a little bit further down, this pile of Sexy Librarian copies are actually since 2008 when it was published, all of the discarded copies from libraries that I was able to collect. This is a timeline really of this project, and it shows basically how the circulation has changed and how the content has moved into public-private art collections and placing that in context of the larger sort of physical information field and how the physical burden of a printed book requires very different types of information management than digital content.
So it was sort of, in a way, this lucky situation that writing found a place in my practice, and I'd been searching for that without even realizing I was searching for it. And I see writing as drawing, as sculpture. Like, I feel that I'm constructing a text. And with all the books, they completely function autonomously. So while I include them as both narratives and objects within the work, I'm also very happy for someone to pick up this book and not even know that there's an artwork associated with it. The work in the show here, the Book Lovers show, is associated with, is called Becoming Tartan. And that's this one, and you can see that there's a lot of empty spaces, and these empty spaces get much more pronounced as the book goes along. And that is because it was censored by the Dutch Secret Service. I proposed to them that because they're this faceless institution, that they commission me to find their face and present that face publicly. So, because they were in a period where the public was not trusting them. I would meet with these 18 agents over a period of 3 years and collect from them all of their personal data, which was like sexual history, mental health history, ideas about life, the meaning of life, religion, these kinds of things. And I wasn't supposed to ask anything about the functioning of the Secret Service, but I quickly realized that without asking those questions, I wasn't really learning anything about what it meant to be a spy. How do you make art from nothing, basically? So the book was quite like a natural place to go with the writing, but then also from that writing grew sculptures and neon pieces. And in the end, when I made this show, I then gave the rough manuscript to the Dutch Secret Service, and that's when everything fell apart. So the show was fine, and then they called me a national security threat and wanted to confiscate the book. So as you see, all of the white parts in there are actually made by the Dutch Secret Service, and they're quite brilliant because unlike the American or the British Secret Service, where they black things out in this aggressive way where you're very aware of what's been removed, the Dutch remove by erasing, and by doing so you oftentimes don't even realize something's missing. I had hung all 18 of these in the exhibition in Den Haag, and they were up for 6 weeks. And after I presented the Secret Service with my book and the fights began about censorship, they permanently confiscated 8 of the prints from the show, and they're shown here as empty frames. And so for the duration, the life of this piece, it will always be 11 with the text and 8 without the text. This book is an account of a 5-month experience I had being trained by a New York City police officer secretly in the tunnels of the MTA. I had approached a police officer and kind of took the "you may be searched" very literally and seductively and asked this cop to start searching me. And it led to him training me in this intimate relationship between the city and me and the officer at night when he worked in the tunnels. There was no mediating camera, so it wasn't like I was getting this footage and then could make videos from it. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was writing every night after I shadowed him, and kind of in a diaristic sense, and then I edited that into this book, Lincoln Ocean Victor Eddy, and the installations that I do in conjunction with the book are the photographs that I illicitly took, because that was when the rules were you couldn't photograph in the subway, and every time he's in my photographs you can't see his identity. And there's also a video with that one where he let me steal the footage of the CCTV trains. So you have footage, there's bird songs that we collected. So there's a wide variety, but I would say it's mainly photography and a few sculptures.